Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. So today we are going to learn the new topic regarding long-term financing. Throughout this topic you will understand the types of long-term financing. Basically you have to define long-term loan. What is long-term loans? And then types of long-term financing and the characteristic of each source, as well as cost of financing. Long terms are loans that are commonly set for more than 3 years. It differs from the short-term loans. Short-term loans is basically less than 1 year or within 1 year to 3 years. But long-term loans are loans that are commonly set for more than 3 years. So it is basically between 3 and 10 years, and some run for as long as 20 years. 3 to 10 years, and the longest is to 20 years. Long-term loans are collateralized. Collateralized means they boleh dicagarkan by a business asset and require quarterly or monthly payment derived from profit and cash flow. Types of long-term loans. We have bonds. There are 3 types of long-term loans, which are bonds, common stock, and preferred stock. So basically we call common stock and preferred stock as equity market. So bonds, common stock, and preferred stock is categorized into long-term loans. In Asia, basically in Malaysia, most firms became interested to issue bonds during the 1990s economic downturn. So equity market has become less attractive, and it is harder to obtain fund. Susah lah common stock and preferred stock ni jadi kurang menarik, less attractive, and susah nak dapatkan fund untuk common stock and preferred stock. So mostly the firm will become interested into bonds. The Security Commission helped to develop the bond market to grow rapidly as an alternative for firms to acquire capital. What is bond? Bonds is long-term promissory notes, which is within 10 years or more, issued by the firm public. It considered to grow rapidly after the Asian economic crisis. So capital market began to see the potential of domestic bond market to diversify the risk to investor. Diversify means you want to make the risk lesser to the investor. Kurangkan risiko tu. Bonds are alternative to the equity market. As I mentioned previously, equity market involve preferred stock and also common stock. Characteristic of bond. Par value. Bonds has face value. So amount of payment paid to holder of the bond after they mature. So once bond mature, so amount of payment will be paid to the holder of the bond. And then most corporate bonds are issued with face value of 1,000. For example, bonds pay interest 85 per annum and mature in 2015. So the market price of bond is RM961.25. On maturity, the bondholder will receive 1,000. And then coupon interest rate is the percent of par value of bond paid in the form of interest. For example, bond price which have coupon interest rate of 7% and par value of 1,000 will pay 70 per year on interest until maturity. Sampai dia mature. Bila dia mature, dia akan terima, bond will receive the maturity payment. Usually 1,000. And then maturity. What does it mean by maturity? Maturity is the period in which the bond issue repay the par value of the bonds and terminate the bonds. Dalam jangka masa waktu tu, when it's mature. Okay. And then indentures. What is indentures? Indentures is law agreement between the firm that issue bond and the bond trustee represent the bond holder. So indenture is the law agreement. It will state the specific term of loan agreement, including detail of the bondholder rights, the producing firm rights, and the responsibility of the trustee. Current yield. Current yield is the ratio of annual interest payment compared with bond market price. For example, we evaluate bond with coupon rate 7%. So par value 1,000 and a market price of 650. So you can count the current yield. The formula, annual interest payment divided by the market price of the bond. So annual interest payment will be 7% multiplied by 1,000, the par value. Divided by 650 is the market price. So you get 10.8%. And then bond ratings. Okay, rating involve assessment of potential risk of bond and how it affects the rate of required by investor. Basically, the lower the bond, the higher the rate of return required. Corporate bond rating are done by 3 agencies, namely Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch Investor Service. Ini ialah 3 agensi yang menilai bond. Okay, Malaysia also has the rating agency, Malaysia Berhad RAM, Malaysia Rating Agency Malaysia Berhad, RAM, and Malaysian Rating Corporation, MARC. Then yield to maturity. Okay, yield to maturity is the internal rate of return on bonds. So, the discount rate compared with the present value of interest and principal payment with the current market price of the bond. Okay. And then what is advantage and disadvantage of the bonds? Okay. What is the advantage and disadvantage of the bonds? So advantage of the bond is it is a long-term debt where it is generally cheaper because dia punya period lebih, jangka masa lebih lama. That's why it's cheaper. The bonds do not have voting rights. Dia tak ada hak untuk vote, mengundi atau memilih. And the cost of floating the bond are lower than the common shares, and the bonds are not affected by exceptional gains. They are limited to the interest. And then disadvantage of the bonds. What is the disadvantage of the bonds? Interest must be paid. If you fail to pay the interest, it may lead to bankruptcy. Then issuance of indentures. Indentures is law of agreement, will limit the firm's future financial flexibility. Okay. Dia dah ada agreement, that's why we cannot amend it. Tak boleh sesuka hati amend. The debt must be paid at maturity, and the bond will result in fixed charge. This will increase the financial leverage of the firm, meningkatkan tahap kehutangan organisation tu. Okay, you already learned about bonds. Now, preferred stock. What is preferred stock? Okay, preferred stock does not have a fixed maturity date. If no dividends are paid, it does not lead to bankruptcy. Meaning that if the holder does not receive the dividends, okay, it will not lead to bankruptcy. Amount of dividend is also fixed. Type of preferred stock include preferred common share, convertible preferred share, the participation preferred stock, and preferred share outstanding. Ini semua contoh preferred stock. Okay. Characteristic of preferred stock in terms of classes. Different class of preferred stock produced by a company. Macam tadi mention, ada banyak jenis preferred stock. And then admissibility exchange. Most preferred stock can be converted to a number of common shares. And then claims on asset and income. It's safer to handle, and in the event of bankruptcy, claim preferred stock hold priority in comparison with common shares. Dia dapat dulu claim preferred stock hold priority in the event of bankruptcy. What is the characteristic of preferred stock? First one, cumulative property. Require cumulative dividend payable period prior to be settled before common share dividend may be declared. Mesti terima dividen dulu sebelum declare the common share dividend. So, the aim is to provide a level of protection for preferred shareholders. Okay. And then provision of protection. This allow voting right to preferred shareholder in the event of stock or no dividend payment. So, in terms of provision of protection, preferred stock ni pun ada priority. Meaning to say that dia boleh dapat voting rights in the event of if they did not receive the dividend payment. Payment in kind, investors that do not receive dividend at first, but they acquire additional preferred shares. So after few years, cash dividend are given. So dia ada priority payment in kind. An advantage of preferred stock, sinking fund, meaning to say that segregate funds. It can be substituted if interest rate decline. Does not cause bankruptcy, especially if dividends are not paid, not as interest payment on that. Dia tak boleh menyebabkan bankruptcy kalau dividen tu tak dibayar. Payments of dividend is limited to the amount of specified, which differ from common shares. So it's subject to income. Limit payment of dividend tu hanya limit kepada certain amount. But disadvantage of preferred stock, the cumulative payment is optional. Bayaran dia ada optional, a little bit flexible, and cost of preferred share is higher than the bonds. Cost dia lebih tinggi and riskier than the bonds. Right?